Magna Carta's 800th anniversary will be celebrated in June 2015. To many, it's the cornerstone of English liberty, law, and democracy, and its legacy is both enduring and global. What makes Magna Carta mythic? What role did it play for America's founders? These questions provided the focus for an event that featured remarks from Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. We recap his remarks and the discussion that followed in this edition of Rewind.
In commemorating Magna Carta's 800th anniversary, we are marking the iconic text that we now regard as the foundational symbol of law and liberty. Magna Carta has come to represent the principle of the rule of law, that no ruler is above the law, and that those who govern are accountable to the governed.
Why has the Magna Carta attained a mythic status? And I think more mythic, that's what we were discussing a few minutes ago. Maybe more mythic in the United States, maybe more status in the United States than in England. We at the court refer to it quite a lot. Compared, I suspect, to the Law Committee of the House of Lords, now the Supreme Court of England. So why is it so important to us? I think these are the words that are particularly important in clause, 39. No free man shall be arrested or imprisoned or disseized or outlawed or exiled or in any way victimized. Neither will we attack him or send anyone to attack him, I'm glad to hear that, except by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. That's it, the law of the land. That's what resonates.
Magna Carta is cited during the embargo crisis, during the War of 1812. It's cited again during the Missouri crisis. It's cited again by the Cherokee. It's cited repeatedly over and over again. It is absolutely central, and it's part, by the way, of a narrative, but it is central to Americans' identity in the 19th century. Mm-hmm. And this identity that they have actually reflects many of the themes that we have heard enunciated today. Rule of law, control of the executive. These things were central to their identity. They talk about how from Magna Carta to the struggles with the Stuart, to the Petition of Right, to the Habeas Corpus Act, to the Bill of Rights, right to the American Revolution, you can draw this narrative line.
Although you can see it as power centers, because it starts out, the Church of England shall be free. By the time of the American founding, and even before, the English people always believed that they were free-born Englishmen. They prided themselves on that. And that was something that the Americans inherited. I think that what it really does is that it makes the power center, the king, promise to abide by a whole series of particular rights of groups, particular rights of individuals. And although there obviously were ups and downs in the course of actually trying to force the executive to do that, it was reconfirmed by king after king after king after king, and recited to the public twice a year, and most of whom presumably were illiterate, so that they would have a sense of it. So I think that to me, the major thing is that it's an attempt to really control those who govern, to make sure that they have to protect the rights of individuals.
If we're talking about a document that is iconic or mythical or whatever term we choose to describe it in, where? And in other words, you've made some points, Joyce, about it being more vibrant, the legacy more vibrant here in the United States than it is in the land of its birth. Right. But if you could give us some thoughts, if all of you could share some thoughts on how far and wide and deep this influence goes. And is America the place that most lionizes?
Of course, English or British politics is changing so dramatically, and we're seeing that. This is the last week of their general election. The astonishing transformation of Scottish politics, the transformation of a 2.5-party system to a genuine multi-party system. I think there's a good bet that lots of people in England and Britain are going to be thinking about kind of deep constitutional questions, and that's going to inevitably take them to this kind of 13th century conversation, these issues that we're talking about. And so I think that, famously the English are sort of indifferent to theory. It's the French who care about theory. But I think that political events in Britain are going to push these constitutional questions back onto the table.
What's the most important reason, the single most important reason to gather together to commemorate an 800-year-old document?
I guess tradition, but as you heard earlier this week in oral argument, tradition is distinctly a double-edged sword. I tend to prefer equality over tradition. And that's why I wish, actually, we were instead commemorating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's passing.
I think it's also important that we get together to commemorate, to tell stories to each other. I think it was very important to hear again the story about what Little Rock meant, to understand that stories have multiple meanings, that they help define who we are, and that by the act of storytelling, by the act of understanding our history and understanding ourselves historically, we come to affirm values. And those values can help hold us together.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to think and talk about the rule of law and to educate about it. 10 years ago, we were torturing people, and very, very few people in this country objected. It violated our domestic law, it violated international law, and we were quiet. And we need to think about rule of law. And the focus, the spotlight from Magna Carta, it really allows us to do that. And I know that's been part of the ABA's thinking.
For more information on the Leon Jaworski Public Program series, visit AmericanBar.org. And for more information on the Wilson Center's programs, visit wilsoncenter.org.